Well, welcome everyone. It's great to have everyone here. Welcome back to all of our viewers that are joining us again. If you're a new viewer, we're glad to have you here today. We have very special guests with a very interesting topic. The point of the webinar today is very educational based too, to learn about some investment opportunities that are out there and the mechanics behind it. So as a reminder, today's topic is the alternative investment opportunities in the changing landscape. So without further ado, let me introduce our two guest speakers. We have Karin Hall, founder, CEO of UDirect Services. Thank you so much for joining. How are you?
Thanks, Mike. Doing great. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. And we have TJ Coveyu. TJ is the founding partner of Newport Realty Trust and the co-founder of Newport Private Group, where he currently serves as the president and CEO. He founded and is currently running Arch Loans and Newport Commercial Capital, the two lending subsidiaries of Newport Realty Trust. TJ, welcome.
Good morning, everybody. I think it's probably morning for most of everybody here. Thank you.
I'd have to say we have, two great speakers, very well accomplished, feeling like a very unachiever today. But anyways, happy to have both of you. It's going to be phenomenal. We have some really great questions. Let me introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Mike Blumikranz. I'm head of all loan origination with Arch Loans and Newport Commercial Capital. And, typically people or borrowers are borrowing with us because their current lenders are just having them jump through these hoops where they have these underwriting processes that are, a lot of paperwork or full appraisals that are necessary. So here's what we do, and here's how we can help. We offer up to 100% financing on the purchase price. We can underwrite a deal with a drive-by appraisal, and we do offer up to 100% financing on improvement capital for those type of deals that have a large improvement capital needs to it. So without further ado, let's jump into our questions. Again, the changing landscape and alternative investment opportunities that we have. So Karin, question that we have for you, are self-directed IRAs new?
No, they're not. And they're specifically for alternative assets, as you mentioned. But no, you've been able to self-directed IRA ever since IRAs came into existence. And that was in 1975 when the ERISA laws went into effect. So if you want to Google that, it's the Employment, Retirement, Income, and Security Act, the ERISA Act, that Gerald Ford signed into effect. So yeah, 45 years you've been able to self-direct, but it's been a best kept secret for a lot of years. And even still, a lot of people don't know about this. Even attorneys and CPAs are not all familiar with this. But it's been around for a very long time.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
And TJ, how does private lending fit in with an IRA?
Well, first of all, I want to just caveat, I'm not an attorney, an investment advisor, or I don't have any fancy initials after my name. So I can really only speak from experience. And also just welcome everybody here. I'm glad you're spending your time with us. Lending can work in an IRA very well because it's a relatively simple structure, and the IRA custodians sometimes have to worry about a lot of strange tax things and other compliance things that I think Karin will probably talk about a little bit later. But as it relates to trust deeds, they're a very simple thing to get your arms around. Also, they provide steady income. And strategically, what I've seen in my experience is that real estate investors who know real estate, who feel comfortable with real estate, who want to have a high exposure to real estate in terms of their overall net worth, have this money tied up in an IRA. And if they're in a traditional IRA, they can only really buy securities with it. And they want to put it in real estate. Well, Karin will talk a little bit later, but they can't put it in their own. They can't put it in their own business. So having them being able to lend, finding a structure where they can lend their money out through their IRA into an asset that they can feel comfortable with is really a great fit for a lot of people. And in our experience, in terms of the clients we work with, that's a very high number of our clients. It also provides diversification if you happen to be investing in a portfolio. And another thing that's kind of a subjective, kind of soft side to it is that if you are a real estate investor and you're active in the market, you have some more capital with which you can create partnerships. So many of us may know that, you know, the best way to get to know somebody for a long-term partnership is to do a deal with them. Well, this gives you some capital with, you know, you can help somebody out, you can build a relationship, and then later on that relationship can grow. And so it's kind of neat to have that extra capital to do that. If you buy Apple stock, it doesn't mean you're going to get a relationship with Steve Jobs, but you know, you can do that in this case. So yeah, and there's a follow-up to that is, you know, at what point is my IRA big enough for me to do this? There's various ways to do that and still stay diversified, which, you know, we can talk about later.
Yeah, that's a very popular question too, is what if my IRA is not yet big enough? And so Karen, what are the self-directed IRA rules?
Yeah, TJ was just, you know, touching on that a little bit, so I'll get into it. So with self-directed IRAs, they have some unusual rules that don't exist elsewhere in investing that I'm aware of, and they're called, well, let's put it this way: you want to keep away from prohibited transactions. So a prohibited transaction is doing business, for example, with somebody who's a disallowed party. So we'll talk about that. People who are disallowed to your IRA are your lineal ascendants and descendants, like up and down the family tree. So that's your parents, grandparents, you and your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, and their spouses can't benefit from the IRA. No personal benefit, no present benefit, you know, that sort of thing. So not benefiting today from the IRA. It's all for retirement purposes. But other disallowed parties could be a fiduciary. For example, your IRA isn't going to invest in a project that your CPA is in. That sort of fiduciaries are disallowed. And also a 50-50 business partner is also a disallowed party. But the parties that are allowed are out to the sides on the family tree, like your brothers and sisters, your nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles. So, for example, your IRA would not invest in a property your parents own. Your IRA would not sell an IRA-owned property to your children. That would be a prohibited transaction. The IRA never buys, sells, or exchanges or trades between the plan, the IRA plan, or the solo 401k plan, and any of these people. All right. Another thing, and by the way, you can look this up if you want to read the rules. It's the Internal Revenue Code 4975. Just whip out your Internal Revenue Code book you probably have sitting there and pull up IRC 4975. But that's where it's written. But it says that you can't provide goods, services, or facilities to the plan if you're disallowed. So what does that mean? It means, for example, we had one gentleman whose IRA was going to buy a property. So we take a look and we're looking at the documentation and we see his last name. And then we go and we take a look and we see, wait a minute, the broker's got the same last name. So we ask our account holder, who's the broker? And he says, oh, that's my dad. Well, that's a prohibited transaction because it's a disallowed person, a father, right, a lineal ascendant, providing services to the plan by acting as a broker. But additionally, this disallowed person wanted to receive benefit. He wanted to get a commission for it too. So those are two prohibited transactions. So I say prohibited transactions, and it doesn't sound that serious, does it? It's just like, oh, you're just going to get a little slap on the wrist. It's just prohibited, but no, it's a big deal. What happens if your IRA has been deemed to have committed a prohibited transaction is the IRA blows up and it's no longer an IRA. It's now your personal money. And so you get 1099 for the balance of your entire account, and there probably will be penalties, excise taxes, that sort of thing on top of it. So the self-directed IRA game is a game of keep away from prohibited transactions. And as you mentioned, when you're investing in notes, since we're talking about that asset class, again, just like TJ, I'm not an investment advisor. I don't give investment advice, but I can talk about self-directed IRAs. So when an IRA invests in a note, as long as the borrower isn't a disallowed party, you're okay. And as long as the note doesn't benefit the disallowed party, then you're okay.